reading about the empiricist philosophy of Locke and Hume, it really has me thinking about Inception and how when DiCaprio was dreaming, right, everything that he experienced was real to him. It was a lucid dream, right? So even in the dream, he himself did not fully exist, but he could see, smell, sense everything, feel things that were going on around him. And then he would wake up, but he woke up into another dream where he then also experienced what was occurring around him, but everything was ultimately an illusion because it was just a continual dream. He kept waking up and he was just stuck in this dreamlike state, right? And that's kind of what empiricism, as I understand it to be, in the way that Professor Hill describes it here, is that everything is an illusion. All that we can know is our ideas. All that we can know is our perceptions in how we experience the world with our five senses. So this wanders quite a ways away from like innate knowledge, right? Like if we believe that God created the universe and that we were created with innate knowledge, that the world has an order that was intended for, it kind of strips away all of those pieces, right? In the scholastic, Aristotelian, St. Thomas Aquinas versions of understanding who we are is that we are finite realities. There is a substance to us, even in dualism, right? There's the body and the mind. They're of different substances, but substances nevertheless. Whereas once empiricism comes on the scene, it really goes away from Christianity or an existence of God in general, really. Hume was in fact an agnostic, so he apparently believed in God in some sense, but definitely not the Christian God. Professor Hill here points out that Hume was notoriously known for refusing absolution on his deathbed. So, definitely not the Christian understanding of God going into this philosophy, which is fine, but, it doesn't quite make sense in how do we uphold inherent rights if the personhood or if our existence is merely not only subjective, but like the belief is that like we don't even exist aside from somebody else's perception of us. So it goes away from like I think, therefore I am. It's more like I am perceived, therefore I am to the perceiver. So, I guess like as somebody who does experience lucid dreaming, seriously, I can feel, smell, taste in some of my dreams. And I've been able to also acknowledge when I am lucid dreaming and like wake myself up from it. I would just say that there is a distinct difference between that, right? Like this philosophy would basically say that we do just live in a state of inception where we are just perpetually, and I hope I'm referencing that movie right. It's been a long time since I've seen it. But where we would just be constantly waking up from lucid dreaming into another lucid dream, and that it's all an illusion. And I just don't, I think that voids a level of like, almost like common sense, right? Like we can physically feel ourselves, but right, in lucid dreaming, it's very similar, but I don't know. Like, it just makes sense that we actually exist and that our realities are real around us. Otherwise, in dreams, things don't always make sense. Timelines don't align, even in lucid dreams, right? Like, different things can just make sense, even if, we're like floating in the air and it's like, oh, wait, like, how is this happening? And that's how I've been able to recognize when I'm in a lucid dream is when something is defying physics, when I've been shot repeatedly and I'm not dying, stuff like that, which is traumatic. I know I get like nightmares. But in our finite reality, like my mess looks the exact same as it did yesterday, this pile of papers and everything is in the same spot that it was yesterday. And and even within our personhood, like my memories have created me to be who I am. And Professor Hill references that here where, with Locke, he kind of pulls from Descartes with the dualism to try to make sense of this by saying, yeah, like the person is still unified with themselves. But once you start getting into that illusionary piece where, it's like, well, I am because I'm perceived instead of I think, therefore I am, like any of those types of things, you start going down a little bit of a rabbit hole that starts to not make a whole lot of sense once you start delving into some of the peculiars of what that would mean for that to be consistent. And that is what was pointed out by even Hume called Locke out on that, because Locke was too attached to his Christian faith that Hume had to totally dissociate from that in order to make this philosophy makes sense. And I, for myself, am way too attached to my Christian faith to be able to make sense of this. So that's where I stand on empiricism, apparently. So, yeah, so that was today's reading and what I got from it. Curious to hear your thoughts or see if any of that makes sense. So God bless. May St. Thomas Aquinas pray for us, and I will talk to you guys soon.